While leaders are currently gathered in New York for the 77th United Nations General Assembly, the first in-person meeting since the COVID-19 pandemic. The Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi was the second speaker to address the UNGA today. It was his first speech at the UNGA, and he had a lot to say. From women's rights to the Iranian nuclear deal, the West Asian leader covered it all. Raisi also came with a portrait of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, who was assassinated in a U.S. drone strike in 2020. The president blamed the United States for the rise of ISIS in the region and called Soleimani a savior.
Some time ago, the previous president of the United States of America announced that ISIS was created by the United States of America. For us, it makes no difference whether ISIS, Daesh, was made by which administration, a rich American government. What matters is that a government on the other side of this planet decided to bring havoc and chaos to the geography of our region at the expense of the lives and the blood of women and children and the innocents. But the Islamic Republic resistance put an end to that movement, to that destructive movement. And the leader that descended into the arena of the fight against terrorism was no one other than the beloved late martyr, General Qasem Soleimani. A man, a freedom-seeking man who became a martyr on the path of obtaining the freedom of the nations of the region.
Now, on Tuesday, protests raged across multiple cities in Iran. They were led by women who called for an end to the Islamic Republic. Several of them cut their hair and burnt their hijabs. Others even chanted death to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. The protests were in response to the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. Her arrest by the morality police and her death in custody sparked outrage across the West Asian nation.
The Islamic Republic of Iran rejects some of the double standards of some governments vis-à-vis human rights and sees that as the most important factor which has rendered banal the topic of human rights in the eyes of many, because this is something that is currently taking place, a discourse that is taking place in the Islamic Republic of Iran, where we started speaking of and creating a dialogue about the death of tens of innocent women in a Western country. So until we have these double standards where attention is solely focused on one side and not all equally, we will not have true justice and fairness. Human rights belongs to all, but unfortunately it is trampled upon by many governments.
Raisi also addressed the issue of the Iranian nuclear deal. The Iranian president reiterated his demand for guarantees once again. It has called for the sanctions to be lifted before reaching a deal. Raisi says it is because it cannot trust America once again. The Iranian president has, however, ruled out any meeting with Biden on the sidelines. On the other hand, Washington says it does not expect breakthrough on Iran nuclear deal at the United Nations, but it remains open to both sides resuming compliance.
Such aspirations.
Let's talk more about this. Joining us live is Susan Teherani, who is joining us live from the United Nations headquarters in New York. Susan, good to see you. We've had the Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi address the 77th United Nations General Assembly, and he has distanced himself from the United States. Do we have a response from maybe the delegation from United States?
Well, we will expect President Biden to speak shortly this morning, which is interesting that the United States and Iran will be speaking at the same time, same day, at this venue here. No, the delegation has not responded and will probably not give out any kind of direct response to the Iranian president's comments, at least not before the U.S. president speaks in front of this world body. So, you know, that's regarding that, and I don't think that there were any expectations, but I think that when President Biden takes the stage here and addresses the international community and the world body, he will address, you know, the differences between democracy and autocracy and the international world order. And I think it'll be really a departure of what Ebrahim Raisi was talking about. And, you know, it was interesting that Raisi, the Iranian president, was talking about how the norms and the international world order that the West talks about and adheres to doesn't really work. And I think we'll see completely a 180 on that when President Biden talks about why it works and why it will prevail. So really a contrast, but no, of course, no official response, and I don't think we'll really see that kind of acknowledgement, if you may, from the U.S. delegation here.
Susan, how and what is the significance of this United Nations General Assembly forum for the United States and especially for Biden?
Sorry, you broke up, Eric. I think you mentioned for the United States and for President Biden.
I said, what is the significance of this United Nations General Assembly to the United States and also President Biden?
Yeah, it gives President Biden an opportunity to address the world stage, considering the fact that, first of all, the United States has been a staunch supporter for Ukraine against Russia's aggression and has been really supporting Ukraine militarily and pouring in weapons and ammunition. And the United States not only needs the international community's backing, it has NATO, but it really needs other countries to come and back the United States and its allies in combating Russia on the one hand, but then, you know, you also have threats emerging in other parts of the world. For example, China, excuse me. So this is a forum for the U.S. president to, you know, not only talk about the opportunities that he sees in, again, democracy versus autocracy, Ukraine against Russia's invasion, but then, you know, trying to bring other countries on his side should, you know, he faced some kind of challenge when it comes with China moving forward as well. Remember, other countries have economic ties with China, so it's going to be very different. You have the issue of Taiwan, which is very sensitive for the United States right now. And then, you know, you have a myriad of problems, or the energy crisis right now that's prevailing across Europe. You know, ultimately, and the supply chain crisis, ultimately countries will have to decide whether or not they want to feed their own population or side ideologically.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.